Talking about myself, I'd like to rather introduce myself as a fashion student who's been studying fashion for the last 15 odd years. All my life I have spent with fashion. That's pretty much all I live, eat, breathe, all right through my school life. I've never been that good with my maths, physics and chemistry. Probably a wrong thing to talk about at an engineering college. It was a nightmare for me to get back into an engineering scenario to again, continue differential and integral calculus and, go through the motions once again. It was an option I had around my end of my 12th standard where it was either fashion design or it was engineering. And 3 months was the time I had to train for it, and training I did, which is probably the first time I ever picked up a pencil in my hand and started developing patterns and designs. And some things you discover in your life, which you never thought you had. Which was a kind of a time when I discovered I could actually draw, I could sketch, I could, I could communicate my ideas with a pencil. It takes these one-off situations in lives where you're put in a corner where you have to come out of it some way. For me, I still have nightmares about differential calculus, let me be clear on that. All right. So that was the stage where I decided to train myself in designing, to draw patterns, to do stuff which I've never done before, and I realized there was a potential in me in that. And from somewhere amongst probably the second or the third last in my class in maths, physics and chemistry, all of a sudden I was in the top 3 in my batch in fashion design. And when you start seeing results, in a way it gives you a certain level of confidence about yourself. I don't mean to be critical about our education system, at least in schools, but somehow they tend to put you down if you're not really academically too well off. My personal experience, so to speak. Well, finishing that and getting into fashion design and all of a sudden seeing results really made a huge difference in my life. There was this whole confidence that developed. There was this whole belief system which came along with it that I too can do it. I too can achieve, right? Well, going on, I graduated and what I didn't tell you guys is that my family business is into the weaving of Kanjivaram silk saris. We're a family of weavers. I'm the 6th generation running. And for those of you who don't know Kanjivaram, it's a city in the south of Chennai which is extremely famous for 2 things, temples and silk, saris especially. And most of my summer vacations as a child I have spent with my dad along with the weavers, along playing with their kids, and it was fun growing up there in its own way. It had a village charm to it. And one of those days, once I had finished design and I was spending time there was this one lady who came across. She was a client. She was a tourist actually, who came across and who had bought a sari from my dad. And I was introduced to her as a fashion designer. She said, "Would you be able to make a dress out of this for me?" I did not have the equipment over there. I did not have a sewing machine. I did not have anything over there. I was just there helping my dad out a little bit, figuring things out for myself. And with some chance, I said, okay, let me do it. I found a tailor. Honest to God, he did not understand my sketch. He did not get it. He did not understand what a dress was even. He is used to making very badly finished trousers, shirts, and that's about it. These guys, in a way I felt, a lot of these people, especially the labor section of society, never push themselves to expand out of the basic knowledge that they have. They're comfortable, this is what I would call a comfort zone. They never come out of their comfort zone. And studying design and coming out for us, it's a question of doing things which you're not used to usually seeing, ideas. You translate ideas into clothes. You translate things into clothes. Basically, that's how we're trained to look at things differently, do things differently. And I sat with him for a day and a half and I got this done. And it fit really, really well. And until then, for a guy who has always seen Kanjivaram silk as a sari, as a product called the sari, all of a sudden we are seeing the Kanjivaram silk as a dress, as a gown, as an evening gown. As a full-length evening gown. And that was a little bit of an eye-opener for me. Why should silk be only a sari? Why should Kanjivaram only talk about saris? Why should it be only a product and it's only fixated on a particular product called the sari? It could be a bed cover, which is where it was a starting point for me, to look at that as a raw material instead of a product. Kanjivaram silk for me was the starting point as a raw material instead of a product. And at this point, I was probably about 20, 19 or something, and decided that I didn't have enough of retail experience, which is when I decided we will probably look at this at a more professional basis. From Madras to Milan was quite a culture shock for many reasons. I was there, and all of a sudden, I could see myself looking out of place. Fashion and style in Chennai is very different to that in Milan. I give you that in writing. I was there with, at that point of time, bell-bottoms was really in. Denim bell-bottoms was really in Chennai. And that was the only thing you will find in the stores. I went in there with some weird hair, which was neither long nor short. And everybody is giving me this random, who's this caveman kind of a look, okay? I mean, I could see that. I mean, everybody in the street were giving me this weirdest look. And it was a little bit of an eye-opener that, okay, I thought I was quite fashionable in Chennai, but that's nowhere measured compared to where we were in Milan. And yeah, and my experience out of Chennai was hardly anything to go by, and went there, had to adapt, pick it up and get there, you know. And then came the second part of the culture shock about 5 years later when I had to shift back to Chennai. I again found myself not fitting into this city anymore, you know. I mean, again, I was in both mindset in a lot of ways, you know, and which is when again had to get back to pursuing the dream of trying to move Kanchipuram out of the whole sari mold and try to get it into a different product mold. Well, I mean, I believe that you go as far as your team takes you. I mean, however much ideas and however much innovation that you might have in you, it really matters for you to have a really good team which is with you to back you up, to push you and get you there, right? And in terms, and as I told you, I'm back to see guys who are, again, not happy to go out of their comfort zone. A dress out of Kanchipuram silk, says a tailor to me, you know, that cannot be done. I said, why not? Simply cannot be done, that's it. Nobody has done it. I said, that's why we will do it. That is exactly why we will do it. Why not? That's the whole question is, why not? Well, it takes a mind who I believe is exposed to, a mind that is exposed to something that we want to try something differently. And it's possible, mind you. Yeah, of course, you will get ridiculed. I got ridiculed by tailors. No kidding. I mean, no lesser than guys who have only been doing basic shirts and basic trousers all their life, they ridiculed me. We did it. We did it and we were reasonably successful with it. However, that said, in terms of, I mean, for a lot of technical reasons, I have put it on hold because I want to present this in a very different way. I want to take innovation to the raw material stage, which involves people who want to experiment with me, who've got the guts. Anyway, assembling the team is going to take a lot of time, and this, in a way, I wanted to also talk about the industry in specific. For an outsider who looks at the fashion industry, it's all glam and glitz. But the fact is, the fashion industry is really no different to any other industry. There is research and development, there is a manufacturing process, there is marketing to sell a garment. It's the process, the entire workflow is pretty much the same in comparison to any other product that you're talking about. Even whether it's be mass manufactured garment or if it's going to be luxury fashion as well. There is the PR involved, there is pretty much the process of making and selling a garment is no different to that of any other product. Which is, again, anyway, so coming back to the story of Kanchipuram and the silk and everything, I want to take it forward in a very different way, which involves a lot more of money inputs in terms of research and development and design, and for which it's going slow, but it's going well. Kanchipuram is, at least I represent Kanchipuram because that's my hometown, and I want to take it up, and I, honestly, if you look at it, sari wearing 20 years ago or 30 years ago was an everyday affair, in the sense, if I'm going to pick up some of my mom's old college albums, the photo albums, and see, my mom used to wear a sari to her college, and so did most of the ladies of her generation. But as of today, nobody does. From what was an everyday garment, the sari has, as the product I'm talking about, just the sari, has slowly slipped into a traditional attire. College girls wear it only on traditional day. They don't wear it every day. I mean, even in office and stuff like that, I mean, for various reasons. A, they probably find it more comfortable to move around in a trouser or a salwar kameez or whatever be the reasons. They just moved in the last 30 years or 20 years from everyday wear to the traditional wear segment. So is the case with Kanchipuram silk as well. So for the art, for the silk, for the art to survive, it needs to reinvent itself. It needs to remold itself, and it has to adapt to today's necessities and today's needs. And that is probably as a pillow cover or as a cell phone case. It can be molded. It's a very versatile fabric. And it can be molded into many different things, which is kind of the projects that we are involved in. We're also trying to work with the government where we're trying to come up with new weaves, new techniques of weaving, newer yarns and fabrics, that in the sense newer type of textile combinations, like involving other types of silks, other newer designs, newer techniques in the fabric itself in terms of the final output, basically to reinvent. Because probably the only difference between fashion industry and probably the rest is the rate of R&D is a lot higher here, because every 6 months we have to come up with a new idea, and it has to be good for us to survive. Well, Kanchivaram is what I'd like to specifically focus on, and that is just one segment in the numerous arts and crafts that we have in India. There are a lot of designers who are doing brilliant work in the craft sector, who have taken up arts and reinvented that into more of a product line that is user-friendly and more saleable of today. And there's lots more to do as well. And sadly, unfortunately, there are quite a few art forms that we have lost. Kanchivaram itself, I should tell you, the major problem that we're facing is the whole industrialization of that belt is translating into all the labor moving into industrial labor and nobody coming into the weaving segment. Challenges are always there. The only question is to overcome and adapt. You know, and if it's only the technique that we're trying to popularize, and we're going to be here to make sure that Kanchivaram silk reinvents itself to become something else in a different product line altogether, but it will survive. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.